team. Sing 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. We got the right stuff. We put the hammer right down. Wanna be like us? You better stick around. If you want it, you gotta prove it. Like we do it, like we do it.
All right, I would like to welcome everyone to this TagoIO Connect event 2022. I'm actually broadcasting from Brazil, and here today with José from RAKwireless. He's gonna talk a little bit of how we can build a flexible IoT platform for edge computing using WisGate Connect and TagoCore from development to deploying. With no further ado, welcome José, and you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. First thing, I'd like to thank the whole team of TagoIO that organizing this TagoIO Connect. I feel honored to be here at such a great moment. So let's start with the presentation. My idea is to do a small presentation on why we are developing the WisGate Connect and why we are using TagoCore, and then do a little demo. So let's go for it. First thing, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit more. I'm José Perez. I live in a small fisherman town north of Barcelona. I'm a father and husband, and I studied astrophysics, although I'm not sure if I could say I'm astrophysicist myself, since I've never worked as that. I started working on software, programming, team lead, CTO of different companies until about 10 years ago when I discovered the IoT world. And since then, I'm trapped here, which is much more interesting than just software from my point of view, although I keep on doing both things. So I've been in different companies, and right now I'm product owner at RAKwireless, especially working on the Raspberry Pi family of products inside RAKwireless, and also some products related to the WisBlock ecosystem. And I'm an enthusiast of open source software and hardware. So just to follow with the introduction, I'd like to talk a little bit about RAKwireless. You might already know about the company. It's an industry-leading connectivity provider for IoT, especially low-power wide area networks using LoRaWAN. It was founded in Shenzhen 8 years ago. We have around 300 employees in 10 countries, and a lot of customers, half of them from the USA, a big chunk from Europe. And you might know we are #1 providers for blockchain gateways for the Helium network. But actually, we are a top brand for anything LoRaWAN related. And if you open a LoRaWAN gateway from a provider that's not a manufacturer itself, chances are that they have a LoRaWAN concentrator by RAKwireless inside. But actually, we are not only doing gateways, and this has a strong meaning from us. We are working from modules, even system in packages like the RAK 3172 SIP, which is the same that you can see here at the right, but in a chip form factor, so to say. These all have a microcontroller and a LoRa transceiver inside. We also have the WisBlock ecosystem, which is an ecosystem of different components from microcontrollers, radios, sensors, interfaces, more than 100 different modules addressing various use cases for different industry use cases. It's a modular approach, but it's sturdy enough so it can help you go from the developer phase to deployment. And we have clients deploying hundreds of these in the field. Also, we also have like final products, trackers, bridges, buttons, and of course gateways. We have two different families of gateways. Developer gateways, they are based on the Raspberry Pi family, and also edge gateways, which are commercially available and ready to deploy. These are based on MediaTek modules, and they have a operating system based on OpenWRT inside that lets you configure the gateway and also remote manage it. But in the end, I wanted to explain a little bit about all this stuff that RAK does, because modularity is in the ADN of the company, so to say. DNA of the company, so to say. All the different components here, we reuse them. So we have WisLink modules, which are the LoRaWAN concentrators in mini PCIe form factor that you can find inside our developer gateways, but you can also find them inside our commercial gateways, and you can find them inside a lot of different other gateways from different providers. And same thing for the WisBlock. We are our number one clients when using WisBlock. We use WisBlock in our own ready-to-deploy products. So with this approach of modularity, I'd like to portray a scenario of what is IoT present and future. One of the possible futures. I'm not saying this is going to be the future, but what we have right now is that LoRaWAN rules the low power wet area scenario, especially after some other technologies have dropped. Its main strength beyond modulation and long range is that it is very cheap to deploy a private network using LoRaWAN. That's the main strength for LoRaWAN. Some other existing technologies are still claiming their side, like Narrowband IoT, LTE-M, and others seem to have given up, like Sigfox or WISE in Europe. LoRa is also competing against private area networks technologies like Zigbee, Thread, 6LoWPAN, Z-Wave. But there are new and strong opponents in the horizon, like 5G or Matter. Actually, Matter is kind of joint efforts of different of these PAN technologies. And one thing that's always in the mind of all LoRaWAN companies is how come there are no LoRaWAN-based public wide area networks, national or state networks out there. There have been some people trying to do that, but actually they have failed and they are stepping back. So that throws some concerns and some doubts between our clients, customers, and the industry itself. And here, for instance, I'm saying some of these technologies, but actually you could just swap any of these names for any other of the names. Like, will LoRaWAN or Narrowband IoT or Thread be still in use in 10 years from now? Should I invest in a LoRaWAN network, for instance, or why should I switch from my good old wired M2M solution that's been working for 20 years to Thread or to Z-Wave or to LoRa? Of course, we will all like to have a consolidated ecosystem. We will all love to leave proof of concepts behind, have future-proof propositions for our clients, clean business model, but it's not like that. So what can we offer? There is no silver bullet. That's something that we have been saying for a lot of time. There's no silver bullet in the IoT ecosystem now, and probably there won't be one in the future either. And this applies to every layer in the stack, from radio to cloud. What we can offer is flexibility to our customers. What we can offer is a modular approach. The customer can choose the pieces and replace them in the future if, for whatever reason, they are not suited for his use case. So flexibility means, on the hardware side, it means modularity, like I was saying before, and that's why I was stressing that RAKwireless is working on different levels on the hardware. So we are working doing chips, we are working doing modules, we are working doing a platform that you can use to prototype, but also that you and we use to develop our products. These are based all on open specs, even though they are not, or they might not be open hardware. The specifications are open, so you can actually create your own modules and make them compatible with the whole ecosystem. We are using standard form factors like mini PCIe, so you can actually get one of our USB LoRaWAN concentrators, plug it into whatever computer with a mini PCIe socket, and it will work. You have to have choice of different radios, different microcontrollers. If you remember, we are working with different modules with different microcontrollers inside, so you can always choose whatever fits better your solution based on power consumption, based on easiness to program, whatever. And then we try to cover the whole line from development to production. And on the software, it's more or less the same. It's modularity. You might talk about services or microservices or lambdas or whatever it comes out. It's the same open specifications and open interfaces. We have a lot of different open specifications on the IoT world, software-wise. Support for different architectures, so you can pretty much run any of your code on any platform. And remote management. That's something that's a must nowadays for any software solution. So based on this, why do we think TagoCore is a good choice, and why do we think it fits very well within our hardware ecosystem? Because it's open source. It's open source means open specs, means open interfaces, means that I can tweak it to my needs, means that it will always be there if I want to. Easy to deploy using Docker. I'm a big fan of Docker, and actually we are working hard to make our solutions, our software, our open operating systems Docker ready, because it's an easy way to deploy services on top of them. You already know TagoCore processes, stores, filters, analyzes different data from different sources. It's great for an edge computer where no dashboard is needed. That's one of the maybe drawbacks of TagoCore, but if you are going to run it in the edge, you will probably not need that. It provides clustering for cross-deployment and consolidated dashboard. You could actually have a dashboard on the TagoIO site using TagoCore, and it's compatible with a lot of different LoRaWAN network service out there, also with standard protocols like MQTT and with applications like Node-RED or database engines. So you have a lot of different options to make TagoCore run the way you want. And of course, it has an API, and it's the case with Node.js and Python. So for the demo that I will be doing right now, we wanted to have a Docker image. We are so glad that the Tago team actually created one just a few weeks ago. We just tweaked it a little bit more. Maybe they will implement these changes in the future release. The official TagoCore Docker image was released on August 2nd, so like 28 days ago, or 4 weeks. Now they are using the latest version of TagoCore 0.60, based on different flavors, Debian, Bullseye, Alpine, if you want it really small. Here you have the repository, here you have the Docker Hub link as well. And as I said, we have tweaked it a little bit to add the SDKs for Node.js or Python, depending on the flavor you want to, and also support clustering via an environment variable or secret if you want to, because we felt that that wasn't a very interesting feature. So what are we going to use TagoCore in? So let me introduce the RAK-7391 or WisGate Connect, like we call it. It's an IoT device based on the Compute Module 4 by Raspberry Pi. If you don't know the Compute Module 4, it's basically a Raspberry Pi with all the interfaces, like no Ethernet ports, no USB ports, but with industrial degree components. That means that you can actually run a Raspberry Pi in a harsh environment or an industry environment. And that's really, really cool because it joins both worlds, the flexibility and the big ecosystem of the Raspberry Pi with the requirements of an industrial device. You can even get rid of the SD card if you want to and use the eMMC that it has on board some of the modules, the Compute Module 4 variants. The WisGate Connect is a modular multi-RAN platform. That means that you can actually use different radios with it, and we have designed it specially to support different radios, not only LoRaWAN. We want it to be like a hub of communications for wireless and wired communications. So, I mean, LoRa or 4G, 5G, Zigbee, and in the future Matter as well. We will be compatible with all of these. It's also compatible with a WisBlock, with some of the modules of WisBlock, those that are specially designed for industrial use cases like RS485 or 420 milliamps or CAN bus. We are compatible with them, so you can actually use this device on an industrial deployment. It has an open operating system with Docker ready, like I said, multiple power supply options, PCB with a mini ITX form factor, so you can actually buy just a PCB and place it wherever you want, and multiple configurations for developer, indoor or outdoors deployment. As I'd say, it has a Compute Module 4. You can get up to 32 gigabytes of eMMC, 8 gigabytes of memory. It's compatible with all the Raspberry Pi heads out there. It has 3 mini PCI slots for LoRaWAN, 4G, Wi-Fi Halo, Zigbee, you name it. 2 of them have SPI interfaces. The third one has a PCIe interface, so you can actually use it for SATA or more Ethernet ports. It has 2 WisBlock I/O slots, compatible with tens of existing modules. It has an M.2 slot on the bottom, so you can use it with 5G modules, for instance. You could even plug an SSD drive here. It supports PoE, and as you can see, it has a lot of different peripherals on the back, so you can connect anything you want, USB 3, USB 2, 2 Ethernet ports, 1 gigabyte and 2.5 gigabytes. So it's a really complete product and flexible in the sense that you can pretty much do anything you want with it while keeping an industrial degree rate. Just a few things. It's based on RAKwireless, which is a fork of Raspberry Pi OS. With a little, you have tweaked it a little bit to make it compatible with our board, more drivers, and Docker built-in. And without more to say, let's go into the demos. What I'd like to show you is how we can use the WisGate Connect with TagoCore for a standalone LoRaWAN solution. I mean, something you can run in the edge without internet connection that will fetch information from different sensors, store and analyze it. And as a second part of the demo, we will connect it to TagoIO to see how the clustering options work and what options, what the new features that option offers us. So I'm now going to share my screen. Yeah, hope you can see it. So this is just a terminal right now. I'm going to SSH into the device. I have it here, by the way. I've not shown it, but I have one here. As you can see, it does have a whoops here, an OLED display, so you can see the IP of the device if you don't want to, if you do not know it. A lot of different ports. This is the aluminum enclosure, very sturdy. Works great. It feels really great. The antenna is a little bit okay. So I'm gonna SSH into it, and if I type password right, then okay, here we are. So we have this repository at GitHub, which is RAK 7391 examples. We are gathering here some use cases, and the list will grow in the future, I'm sure, with different examples and what to do with a RAK 7391 with the WisGate OS as a LoRaWAN gateway, for instance, or creating a LoRaWAN gateway that supports both sub-gigahertz LoRaWAN as well as 2.4 gigahertz LoRaWAN, or creating an MQTT to Modbus solution, or like we are doing right now, a standalone LoRaWAN gateway with everything you need inside. So you have all the information here, the scripts, you can follow the presentation, and afterwards you can do it. It will actually, this example will actually work on any Raspberry Pi based LoRaWAN gateway. So you can run it on your, if you have a WisGate developer from RAK, it will work. We have tried to make things compatible with our developer family of products. So we have, you have to clone the repo. I have already cloned it, and I have already copied the use case here, and it's pretty easy, pretty simple to use. I'm going to run. Runs basically pulls and builds everything we need, and then starts different services. As you see, we are starting the UDP packet forwarder service. This is responsible to receive the messages from the LoRaWAN concentrator and forward them to the LoRaWAN network server, and the other way around. The LoRaWAN network server we're using is the ThinkStack by the Things Industries. It uses Redis and Postgre as databases. And then we have also deployed TagoCore, which for the first part of the demo, we are going to use SQLite, but then for the second part, we are going to use MySQL, so that's why I deployed MariaDB also to have it ready. So we can go here, and this is the LoRaWAN network server. It has a self-signed certificate. The Docker container takes care of everything, so you don't have to do anything. Just log in, and here we have a LoRaWAN network server ready. Right now, there's nothing here, no applications, no gateways. Since I didn't want to spend a lot of time loading all this information, I added a populate instruction to the run script that will create a gateway for me, and will create some application and a device, and configure the formatter and also the webhook for TagoCore. So everything received with this application will be forwarded to TagoCore. So now if I refresh here, you can see that I have a gateway here, and that I have an application with a device. So far so good. If I go to integrations, webhooks, I have a webhook ready for TagoCore that will be on TagoCore 8000. And I don't have an authentication yet, so that's something I will have to do. And as payload formatter, I'm using Cayenne, just like I wanted to. So next step is to, let's say, TagoCore instance. So this is something you might have already seen. It's the basic TagoCore installation. We're going to provide a master password. And for this first installation, we're going to use SQLite. Okay. Okay. Now my name, a dummy password, no hint. And okay, everything's ready. So here I have my TagoCore installation working. So I didn't have to do anything special, just deploy the services. But of course, I don't have anything here. Like I had with the LoRaWAN network server, I don't have any devices here, so that's next step I will have to do. So first thing is to install, since we are using the Things Stack by the Things Industries, same software that the Things Network is using, we are going to install the plugin for TTN. It's really fast. Okay. Good. Now I'm going to change the authorization code to something that I made up. Great. And I'm back to the application, integrations, webhooks, and I'm going to add this authorization key. Same code. Good. Nice. Now I'm going to create the same device that I had before. This device, I'm going to call it dev01, like I have in the Things Network, and I mean the Things Stack instance. I will add serial so it can link the device from the Things instance to the Things Network to TagoCore. This is this code. You can get it from here. I mean, you go to end devices, device. It's this same device UI. You have to copy here. All right. Next thing, I'm going to configure the payload parser. I have one ready that I mounted inside the container of TagoCore under formatters, and it's this one. It's weather station. And also tell him that we have to use the TTN, TTI integration encoder stack. And save, don't forget to save, really important. Okay, so now I'm going to see if I'm receiving data. First I'm going to see if the gateway is connected. It doesn't look like it's connected yet. Sometimes it takes a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to present you the sensor that I will be doing the presentation with. It's a WisBlock, like the ones that I just introduced to you in the presentation. It has a Nordic microcontroller, and also I'm not sure if you can see it, but we have here a sensor which is a Bosch BME 680. Well, actually it's a 280, so it has humidity, temperature, and barometric pressure. And I have a software firmware loaded into it that will report every 20 seconds these values. And as you can see, we are already receiving data from the concentrator. That's good. I'm going to go back to the application and check the device. No data here. I'm going to force a new join. So the device joins the network that I have just deployed. And if everything goes right, here we have a join. Good. So far, so good. Now, every 20 seconds, we should receive a join request is not working fine, maybe. Yeah, it's taking a little bit longer than usual. Just check if the antenna, there's some problem with the antenna. I'm going to reset again. Not working as expected right now. Okay, I'm going to see what's going on with it. Permission denied for port. Should happen sometimes. It is trying to join, but for whatever reason, it's not receiving the answer, it looks like. Okay. Yeah, now it worked. No? Okay, I'm going to go forward without data. It's not perfect, but it certainly looks like there's something wrong with the sensor. It says that the gateway is not in range, but it's right here. So, okay, we'll try to make it work while I keep. So, with this setup, we should be able to see the information for these buckets, for the sensor inside the buckets, which right now it won't work, but you should be able to see all the same information that we will be receiving in the thing stock inside TagoCore, because the webhook is going to send all the information to a TagoCore 8000, which is the TagoCore inside the Docker network will resolve to the container where TagoCore is running, so they will see each other. And 8000 is a port where the plugin is listening to. So yeah, if everything worked as it should, we should be receiving the data here. But bad luck. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the second part of the demo, and hopefully it will get fixed by itself during this time, and maybe we will be able to see the data for the second part. So the second part of the demo is right here. We will be able, when we get the information in TagoCore, we are able to create actions for this information. Like, for instance, analysis, I can create an analysis. I'm going to call it temperature console or log. And I'm going to use Node for this. This specific Docker instance container image has a Node installed inside, so I can use it without problem. And I'm going to go to root here, shared analysis. I'm going to load this analysis. And I can create an action for the device when running an analysis. This action is log. I'm going to run this analysis when there is some information for device 1 and temperature. 1 is anything, for instance. This will run the analysis code every time we receive any data from the sensor. And if we were receiving data, then we are not, then we will be able to see the log of the temperature. This is what the console, this script is doing, logging the temperature to here. But of course, you can create any other code, any other use case you want, like sending information, sending an email, sending an SMS, a push to whatever application you have in your mobile phone, whatever you want, you can do it from TagoCore. All right, so this is what you can do. It's an edge application. You can do everything here, but what if we want to cluster it? What if we want to deploy different devices like this one on different facilities and maybe share the configuration or be able to retrieve the information from all of them? So what we are going to do is we are going to go to TagoIO, which you already know this for sure. And I'm going to create a new cluster, which I'm going to call RAK Sympathy 91 cluster. No, not here, sorry. This is a filter here. Okay, and this new cluster, it's really simple. It's on. We have a token. I'm going to copy this token. Sorry. I'm going back to the RAK 7391. I'm going to the standalone folder when I have all the code. And here we have the Docker Compose file. And inside the TagoCore service, as you can see, we have a cluster token variable that we can use, and we are going to copy here the token. And I can run it again, or what I can do also is to just start Docker Compose B. And since I've just changed the TagoCore service, this is the only container that will get recreated. So all the rest are working as expected. They are not changing. We have just bring down and bring up again the TagoCore container with a new configuration. So if I go to here again, now I'm again on the welcome page, and it asks me to create again the user and everything. This is because we are not going to use the same database as before. We are not able to use SQLite. We are going to use MySQL. You could also use PostgreSQL if you want. So right now in Peak Database plugin, it only offers me these options. Since I have MySQL deployed, I'm going to choose MySQL. It installs a plugin for MySQL. And now I'm going to say this is MariaDB, which is the database, the host database. Database is TagoCore and username and everything. So I can try to connect it. Connect it, works great. So again, it asks me for user. And here we are. And if I go to TagoCore cluster and I refresh this page, then I see that there is a new device in the cluster, which is the device that I just deployed. So now the TagoCore local instance, the edge TagoCore instance, is connected to the cluster. And that means that everything we are doing in this instance will be shared to the cluster. Particularly if you have other instances and you install a plugin or you configure something in one of them, this will be replicated to all the instances and in the same cluster. So I'm going to go through the same process again. Let's see if it didn't work. Why? Okay, going to hard reset, unplug and plug again. Let's see if I have better luck now. No. What the? That's demo effect. I'm sorry. So yeah, I cannot show you how it looks like, but in the end, once you have this connected, you can actually connect your dashboard to data coming from different devices from the cluster. And not only that, you can also create actions on the edge. So the benefits of this approach is that you have kind of a fleet management using one TagoCore, for instance, one instance as a digital twin for the rest of them. So you can configure everything you want on one instance and it will be replicated to all of them. And but again, having a single instance in isolation has a value by itself as well. So you have both options and both are really interesting. So for us, TagoCore, I'm going to stop sharing because this is not working, bad luck. So for us, TagoCore is not so open source. TagoCore open source is a very promising platform for edge IoT, and it's flexible enough to serve different use cases, and that's what we want at RAK. We want to not force the user to go through a specific path. Instead of that, offer him options to find his own solution. Coupled with flexible hardware like the WisGate Connect, it can be the operations center for a fully featured edge solution for sensor data, including other sensors in the future, other radios in the future. And of course, we wish it had more out-of-the-box options, but it's a product in development, and they are very agile in working on it. So I'm sure that there will be new features coming in the future. So that's all. I'm not sure if you have any questions. I think I'm out of my time.
Suzette, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. And it's really great to see. It was such an amazing presentation. You're connecting the dots here and there. Um, Shame it didn't
Yeah,
work.
hopefully, I hope it had worked, but it's always happening. I just tested this morning and it was working. So
No problem at all. It happens. I have opened the Q&A for some questions, and we already have one of them here. So, what do we expect? Is there anything that REC is launching that's fairly new that you can share a little bit about with us?
well, this WisGate Connect is something that we are about to launch in less than a month. The
That's good.
idea
That's
behind the
amazing.
WisGate Connect is that it is a bridge between the developer gateways where you have a Raspberry Pi, so you have something for developing, which is great, but you will probably not deploy it in the field. And the edge gateways, which are great for deploying in the field, but it's a closed ecosystem. So this is something in the middle, and it's something that we would like to explore in the future, maybe with different variants of the product. So yes, this is something that we are working a lot on right now.
Amazing. That's amazing. And for people that are interested in getting in touch with you and getting in touch with REC, what is the best source? What is the best way that they can contact you?
Well, actually, you can contact any of us, and we will forward, depending on your question or your requirement, to the person in charge for that. In the presentation, you have my contact, jose.perez@rakwireless.com, and also my Twitter account. Sometimes it's faster. And
Sounds
yeah,
good.
just contact me, and we'll make it do it. We'll make it happen.
Sounds great. Sounds great. And Matt, also, I work with you, right? He's going to present in a couple of minutes with us the whole idea of TagoCore and how you design edge solutions. And I think it'll be at that same line of thought. I really appreciate your presentation today, Jose, and thank you so much for joining us in this Tago Connect. We hope to see you soon on the next one. And now I'm gonna open the floor to Matt. So let's welcome Matt. He is a front-end developer here at TagoIO. He's gonna be sharing with us some highlights on TagoCore today and designing IoT solutions for Edge. So Matt, you have the floor.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me and see me all right, Thiago? Okay. So, hello, everyone. My name is Matt. I am one of the lead developers of TagoCore. And I'm going to be talking about designing IoT solutions for the edge with TagoCore. I'm very excited to be presenting this. I have a bunch of stuff to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. Now, I know a couple of things here Fabio mentioned in his previous presentation when he was talking about roadmaps and that sort of stuff. But I think it's important that I re-emphasize those points, specifically because I know a couple of people joined this specific presentation because it had TagoCore in its name. So before we actually dive deep into showing you how to design applications and showing you how the live demo that I've prepared works, I think it's important that we show what is TagoCore and some key concepts before we jump into the more exciting stuff. So first of all, what is TagoCore, right? It's a free, fast, and open source IoT platform for edge computing. Initially, when we were designing TagoCore, we wanted it to be an extension of the TagoIO Cloud platform. And I believe throughout the versions, we actually sort of completed this requirement. It's actually more than a simple extension of the cloud. It's become something much more and much easier to use in certain aspects. TagoCore is built on top of Node.js, and you can build plugins for it, but that's I'm going to be focusing on that in a little bit later on. Just know that TagoCore is built on top of Node.js, and it is open source, free, and fast. TagoCore is designed to quickly store and process and parse data from your IoT devices. Anything that TagoIO Cloud has, TagoCore also has. So you have actions, analysis, parsers, encoders, decoders, all that sort of stuff that you have on TagoIO Cloud, you also have here in TagoCore. In some ways, it's easier to use just because we have more access to the local hardware, because TagoCore doesn't work on the cloud. It works when you download it and you install it in your machine. So we do have a little bit more access to your file system, to your files. So in some ways, it's easier for you to store, process, and parse data from your devices. As I have mentioned, TagoCore can be downloaded and used at no cost whatsoever. All you have to do is go over to our website and install it, download it. It's the very first link on the website when you go over to tagocore.com. So if you are interested, Jose just did a beautiful presentation here where he explained about TagoCore cluster, which we are going to be focusing in a bit. So if you are interested, make sure you head over to our website. As I have mentioned, TagoCore uses plugins to expand its capability. Now, this is the main selling point for TagoCore, because what we did here, guys, is we basically abstracted everything that was non-essential of TagoCore, and we put those things inside of plugins. So, for instance, MQTT, it's something that is native to our TagoIO platform, but for TagoCore, it's not really essential because HTTP is there already. It works out of the box. So some applications won't use MQTT. Since some applications won't use it, we simply gutted MQTT and we sort of transferred all that MQTT code to a plugin. So if you do want to use MQTT, it's not native in TagoCore, but all you have to do is go over to our plugin store and install MQTT. And by sort of abstracting and removing all these non-essential features of TagoCore, what we got was speed. Because now we don't have a bunch of useless code running around in TagoCore, so to speak. We have some precise, refined, and defined code which does only specifically what we want it to do. So if some user doesn't use MQTT, that's fine, because we don't even include it inside of TagoCore by default. So I hope I was clear when I say that TagoCore abstract most of its features, including even its database, to plugins. So if you want to, for instance, try and build a different database for TagoCore, you are free to do so. All you have to do is head over to our SDK, install it on NPM, and start building your very own database. It's very interesting. TagoCore also integrates with TagoIO Cloud, and you can complement the solutions with TagoRun, guys. TagoCore has some sort of integration natively with TagoIO, so you can send the data from TagoCore to the TagoIO profile that you have, and you can also do the opposite. You can grab data from your TagoIO profile and add it directly inside of TagoCore. So it's a very handy integration. And sometimes you don't even need to add this data. You can just show it. For instance, you can just send the data from TagoCore to your TagoIO profile and just show this data. You don't even need to add it to your bucket. You can just show it in a widget. It's very powerful. But enough of that. I don't want to waste too much time on definitions. So let's just skip this slide. Now, TagoCore has endless configurations. I have mentioned this. We have additional processing capability on the edge, but TagoCore also works on cloud providers such as AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. For instance, you could set up TagoCore on EC2 machines on AWS, or even using ECS if you want to use containers. I know Jose in the previous presentation said he was a fan of containers and Docker and that sort of stuff. So you could, for instance, just use ECS on AWS to run your TagoCore application. This is TagoCore on the cloud here. We have some pros and cons, very easy to understand. Pros, by using TagoCore on the cloud, it's very easy to scale. Fabio mentioned this before. Basically, you can spawn or start multiple instances at any given time, really. You can start different EC2 instances or add more containers to your Docker application. And it's very easy for you to have a lot of processing capability, because since you have multiple machines, then you have multiple processing powers, so to speak, right? It's equivalent. So the more machines that you have, the more processing power you have. It doesn't mean that it's going to be cheap, because the more processing power that you have, it's going to, cost more as well. One thing that I do want to mention here is the fact that TagoCore is only the actual binary. You have the full authority to manage your application in the way that you see fit. TagoCore is only the binary. So if you want to use ECS or EC2 or even different types of machines, or maybe Google Cloud or Azure, in any type of configuration that you want, that you see fit, you are free to do so, right? You can just download and use TagoCore as you wish. Now, of course, the cons of cloud, we have the latency, we have the costs of connectivity, we also have privacy and security concerns. So TagoCore connects to an external database. You got to make sure that that database is protected in terms of networking and password. This is not really a job for TagoCore. You need to protect your resources. TagoCore will only connect with the password that you provide, right? And we also have TagoCore on the edge. So here, which is the focus of this presentation, we have reduced latency, because on the edge, it's right here beside you. You have much more freedom in terms of reliability and availability. And we also have the ability to add intelligence and integration power. Okay, so in the sense of reduced latency, this is really a game changer, because depending on your connection, or depending even on the provider that you are using, latency can be a really big thing, and it can really shape up how your application will look. So by using TagoCore on the edge, you completely strip away the latency problem in most cases, okay? Now, Fabio also mentioned this, but I think it's very important that we talk about our partners and the support that TagoCore has in terms of hardwares and operating systems and that sort of stuff. So TagoCore runs on everything that is Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and we also have support for Muzzle, so Alpine, that sort of stuff. But these are some of the hardware, or some of the partners that have hardwares that we contact them, and we have a very close partnership to maximize the efficiency of TagoCore in certain hardwares, right? And of course, there are many more. These are just some of the examples. So we have Siemens, E.ON, Dragino, and we also have a bunch of different hardwares. But just know that TagoCore does run on every Linux machine. These are just some of the examples that we wanted to highlight here for you guys. TagoCore focuses on plugins. I think I made that very clear. And these are some of the plugins that we have today. And some here are not exactly on the store right now, but we do have plans to build them. So for instance, the Oracle database is not currently on our plugin store. It doesn't exist yet, but we do have plans to, in the future, build it. We have, for instance, PostgreSQL, MySQL. We also have SQLite. So these are our 3 databases that we have available today. And we also have a bunch of different types of integrations and connectors. So we have EveryNet, we have Helium, we have a bunch here. And we also have, I do want to make a remark for our Domo plugin. And Fabio mentioned this. Again, I'm going to be saying that a lot throughout the presentation. Fabio mentioned a bunch of points here. But our Domo plugin is very interesting thing to mention, because it is our latest plugin. If I'm not mistaken, we just released it today in our plugin store. For those of you who don't know, Domo is a company that focuses on business intelligence and data analytics, data visualization. And we have a full-fledged integration with it, in the sense that we can send data to Domo, and we can grab data from Domo. So we use data sets, for those of you who are familiar with Domo, and we talked a bunch with the Domo guys, and we made sure this integration was simply awesome. We talked a bunch of them. We had several meetings, and this integration is very, very smooth. So it's something that works out of the box once you install the plugin, and all you have to do is set your Domo credentials, and you can send or receive data from Domo. It's pretty cool. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about clusters. And Jose mentioned this. I think it's awesome that he mentioned this because I'm not going to be showing you clusters in this presentation, but I don't even have to because Jose talked about it. So basically what we have here is a cluster, but it's not a cluster that's running on the cloud. It's a cluster that we have built here in the TagoIO headquarters. What we have here is basically 3 Rock Pis, top to bottom, and then the last one, we have a Raspberry Pi. And this Raspberry Pi acts as the load balancer for this whole cluster. It's using Nginx, and this is basically just for those of you who don't know, a simple load balancer service. And all of the TagoCores here are in Rock Pis. And then on the right side, we have a simple router to have access to the internet. And the way TagoCore works with clusters is it allows you to build a cluster system in any type of environment. I'm talking about AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or even on the edge right here, because the way it works is all of the instances of TagoCore connect to our TagoIO main server. And TagoIO basically manages all of the instances for your cluster. So for instance, if you go to a single instance and you install a plugin in that instance, what will happen is TagoIO will understand that you performed an action in a single instance, and it will replicate the same action to all of the remaining instances. So if I go to this first instance right here, this little ball on the top, the very first one, and I install a plugin, the same 2 TagoCores remaining will also install that plugin automatically. And this is really interesting because it allows you to keep consistency of every instance that you have, no matter the environment. And you don't even need, for instance, to have specific things of cloud providers to make your cluster work, right? You don't even need, for instance, to only run TagoCore on AWS for you to have a cluster. No, whatever system can spawn machines, spawn in the sense of starting machines, then you have the ability to build a cluster for your TagoCore application. So I hope I was clear when I say the TagoCore's cluster system is really powerful because regardless of the environment, it allows you to build a very concise and concrete application. Now it's time for our demo. And I'm a bit scared, I'm a bit excited, but I think it's going to be awesome. What we have here, guys, is basically a live demo of a security camera that will use artificial intelligence. Basically, on the left side of your screen, we have a TagoCore running on a Raspberry Pi. This is the latest version of TagoCore 0.6, which is available publicly for download. And what I have here on my left side, you guys can't see it yet, but in just a second you'll be able to. What I have here on my left side is this very Raspberry that I'm showing here, and I have a webcam attached to it, and I also have coded a plugin that I installed in this instance. What we're going to try and do here is a security camera that once we activate it, it's going to try and look through the camera feed and identify if there is a person being viewed in its view, in the camera view. And if there is a person, it's going to send that information all the way to TagoIO with a picture of the intruder, so to speak. Right? So it's basically a security camera. It keeps scanning the camera, and if it identifies someone, regardless of the position, it's going to send that information all the way to the cloud, so you have access to that information regardless of where you are in the world. Let's say you're having dinner, then you receive a notification because your edge system was working. It sent the information to TagoIO, and TagoIO notified you on your mobile phone, for instance. Now, there are some things that we need to understand before we start showing how the demo works. Because to apply the artificial intelligence, we need to scan and I use scan as the word because I truly believe that that's what it is. We need to scan each image that the camera or webcam, I'm going to use both of them with the same meaning. We're going to have to scan each image of the webcam, and we're going to have to understand if there is a person in that picture that the camera provided. Because of that, because of this particular fact, we need to verify multiple times per second if the image that the camera is providing has a person or not. Because we can't, for instance, only verify once or twice a second if there is a person in the camera. The reason why is because someone might know that we are only scanning the camera once a second, and it might bypass, and the person might try to bypass that by quickly running while the camera isn't parsing the data. So what we need to do is every frame, um, regardless of the conditions, we need to parse and try to identify if there is a person on that frame. So this is to avoid people that try to bypass our camera system. For this presentation, what we chose was 100 milliseconds by checking the images, right? Every 100 milliseconds, what we do is we send data to our TagoCore, and we try to identify the feed of the camera to see if there's a person there. Now, 100 milliseconds is not exactly ideal. The reason why I say that is because if we take a look at cameras that have, for instance, 60 FPS, 60 FPS basically means that the images change every 16 milliseconds, and this leaves a lot of room for people to try and bypass our system with 100 milliseconds. So in a real system, what you would like to do is have this number 100 much lower. Ideally, you would need to match this with your camera frame rate. And even so, since you are running through a local network, there are a couple of milliseconds of delay, so you would need to account for that. But again, this is just a demo, so I am going to be using 100 milliseconds to verify the images. Okay, I know I talked a lot about this camera, but I think it's time for us to actually show the demo. Now, if we have time at the end of the presentation, I am going to be configuring a Tago run to actually show our end users, maybe even share the link here in the chat, but only if we have time, which I don't think we're gonna have, but okay. And after I show everything here, I am going to be showing our roadmap for TagoCore. So stick around, even though you don't like the demo, stick around if you want to learn more about TagoCore's roadmap. All right, so let's begin. I'm very excited. Hopefully it works. What we want to do here is I'm going to be sharing my screen. Let's go like so. All right. So I think you guys are seeing everything here. Okay, let me just check if everything's working. Okay. This little, first of all, this is TagoCore for those of you who don't know. Okay, guys, what we have here is basically TagoCore, which is running for quite a while now. As you can see, we have devices, we have buckets, we have analysis, we have a bunch of stuff here. It pretty much follows the same layout that we have for TagoIO. And the way it works basically is in the homepage, instead of the information that you have on TagoIO, we have information about the summary, the data input, the operating system, and on the left side, we have information about our plugins. We have two plugins right here. We have one called SQLite, which is the default database that we have, and we also have a security camera. And this is the plugin that will get the feed from the camera, and it's going to analyze it with artificial intelligence. Okay, now what we want to do here is first, as you can see, the data input is going up very fast. The reason why is that our camera is trying to analyze data every 100 milliseconds, and it's sending the information that if it could or if it could not parse the data from our feed. So if we go to our devices here and go to our security camera, this is a simple device that I made, and activate the live inspector, we can see that we have a bunch of payloads right here. What we have here basically is we have a variable called detect, we have a hash, and actually what I'm gonna do here is simply clear the data. Before we begin, I wanna disable the plugin and enable it again, just so we get a fresh batch, so to speak, because I wanna show you from the very scratch, and the plugin was running for a bit, so I don't wanna start anything rushed. So let's start it once again and activate inspector. There we go. Now what we have here, guys, is basically, as you can see, it's sending a bunch of data, and the source of this data is our security camera demo. It's sending a variable detect with a value of 0, which means that it could not detect anything from the camera feed. And we also have a hash, which basically identifies if the image changed or if the image didn't change. So if someone tries to bypass our security camera by changing the image or freezing the image, we can know because the hash will change. Now this counts that the hash has to change, which means that it's going to change because I'm doing a bunch of movements here. But if I sit very still, the hash would be the same. It isn't ideal, but I just wanted to include this hash to show you guys that each piece of data is different. I'm not repeating the same data. Now, as you can see, the value here is 0 because it's saying that there is not a person in its frame. And if I go to this webcam display here, this is just a simple server that I have set up. This is my Mac camera right here. As you can see, it has the same camera at the bottom, I think right there. And we also have a different camera right here. And this webcam is connected to my Raspberry Pi, which is sitting right there. And I used an iframe to grab its image. And it has a cover right now. As you can see, it's all black. It has a cover. But once I remove this cover, theoretically, it should identify a person right here, which is me. And it should send this data to TagoIO. And it should flip the switch and say that the value is 1 right here. Okay? Well, let's try that. What we're going to do is I'm going to remove the cover from my webcam right here. Now there's another angle of me. And by now, the camera or the system that I have implemented should have identified me as someone. So if I go here, as you can see, the value changed to 1 because it identified that a person is in view of the camera right there, which is me. Now, if I exit out of the spot, it's going to change to 0. But this is not really the point. I just want to show that the camera identified me as a person, and it sent that information to TagoIO. If I go to TagoIO, we can actually see me right there. Okay, now the picture isn't my best picture, but okay, that will do. What we have here is me. It identified me as a person because, of course, I am a person. But as you can see, it used artificial intelligence because there's a bounding box identifying me right there, right? So I couldn't have faked this, for instance. Now, as you can see, it detected an intruder because the alarm system was turned on, and through the use of artificial intelligence, we were able to, well, achieve our goal, so to speak. Now, the way the system works is if I want to sort of clear everything, I have to mark the alarm as deactivated. So in this case, you would only press this when you had dealt with the threat or possible threat. But in this case, let me say that I just dealt with the threat. This was no intruder. This was just someone that I know, for instance. So I just click deactivate, and the alarm will be deactivated. There are no intruders right here. So this is a little demo, and I'm very glad it worked. Basically, what we're doing here, guys, is we're allowing TagoCore to do the heavy lifting. And this is really important for everyone to understand here. TagoCore does the heavy lifting by calculating each and every 100 milliseconds if there is data. As you can see right here, our history has 29,000 data points. We do the heavy lifting on TagoCore, and we only send the absolutely necessary data to TagoIO. If we go to our buckets here, right here on TagoIO, we only have 10 data points. One of these data points is the picture. Then we have another one to identify the history right here. But this is the pattern that I want to show you guys, that you got to use the edge to do the heavy lifting, the very strong stuff, and then you only send the absolutely useful data on TagoCore. Another thing that I do want to mention is that make sure, guys, if you are interested on TagoCore, make sure you invest a little bit more time in plugins, because in this instance, this whole application that I have developed is inside of this plugin. The security camera demo contains my full application from start to finish. If I don't want the security camera to work, all I have to do is uninstall this application. I don't have to chase analysis. I don't have to chase actions, payload parser, delete old files. I don't have to do any of that. The reason is this whole isolated environment contains my full application. It does require a little bit more code. And I'm not saying that analysis or actions or payload parsers are bad. I'm saying that if you want to have a little bit more freedom and the existing tools of TagoCore don't really do the job for you, you might want to invest in building your very own plugin. You have much more freedom, and you don't have a limit of time that you need to run your code. For instance, an analysis. You don't need to wait for it to trigger for you to execute your code. You can start HTTP servers. You can do a bunch of stuff because you have freedom to run your Node.js code. And by the way, this was very simple to build, this little plugin. All I needed was a code to identify a person with artificial intelligence and the code to actually make the plugin show up here. So this was it, guys. At least for our demo. I'm not sure if I'm running out of time here, but if I am, I think Tago will interrupt me. I do want to talk a little bit about our roadmap before I stop. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little presentation here. So let's just go to our roadmap. We do have some things planned for our future, guys. So we have a queue system to process data by using SQS, AWS SQS, for instance. So instead of just receiving the data, directly processing it in TagoCore, we can forward this data to a queue, and then from time to time, we process a data point. And this helps us to not overwhelm the processing capability of an instance. We also have a bucket synchronization between TagoCore and TagoIO, a full bucket integration. So you add something here, you can synchronize it with TagoCore, not just one piece of data, really the whole bucket. This is what I'm trying to say. And we also have the CLI to upload plugins to the plugin store. And this is something that we are developing right now because this will help us automate the workflows. Currently, if you want to publish a plugin, you have to go to our website. We plan on automating this to not having to do that. And a bunch of other little stuff, such as new plugin types, dark mode, and better responsiveness. And these are some of the useful links. Make sure you screenshot that if you are watching it online. We have the website, the Docker image, and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I think this is it, guys. Tiago, do we have any questions here?
Hey, Matt, great presentation, by the way. Glad to be back here. And yes, we have one of my questions would be the roadmap and some news, but glad you covered that. That's good to go. And also, in regards to your camera presentation, what will be the impact to have many cameras there? I know that we are on our way to adding the blueprint dashboards to the TagoCore. What will be then the situation where we could add multiple cameras on a scenario like that? Can you elaborate for us on this instance?
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great question. In this case, I am only using a single webcam connected to my Raspberry Pi. But if you have some way of connecting multiple cameras and have multiple feeds of the camera and being able to parse and analyze multiple cameras in a timely manner, because running the artificial intelligence algorithm does take a little bit of time, which is why I chose the 100 millisecond instead of the original 16 or 32 that I mentioned. But if you have a way to identify many feeds of camera, many images in a very fast way, I honestly don't see that much impact. You would parse, you could even build a cluster of TagoCore, and each one would have a different webcam. I think this is the way, honestly, in this case. And then you just send the data to TagoIO, and TagoCore, again, does the heavy lifting.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And besides anything that you shared with us today on the roadmap, anything special coming up? Anything that you have cooking there that you want to share with us in regards to TagoCore?
Right. Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff. I think I really skimmed here the presentation where it said different plugin types. But honestly, different plugin types, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a game changer because we're going to have so many different types of plugins. You can build everything. You're going to be able to change the theme. It's going to be really awesome. I know I didn't focus it on too much. It's honestly kind of a surprise here for you guys. But in the future, we're going to have a bunch of different plugins. For instance, plugins which you can override certain actions of the system down the line, right? Not so soon. And theme plugins where you can change between dark mode and different types of colors. So it's going to be really game changer. I think that's the one I would go with.
Awesome, awesome, and that's great. Knowing that the public can go there and they can make their own plugins and they can get engaged with the platform. That's great. That's great news. Matt, I would love to ask more questions, but we're right up on our time. And I would just like to highlight everyone, if you want to know more about TagoCore, if you have questions, if you're doing your own implementation, the community will be the best place to be, right, Matt? Where you can integrate
Yeah.
with the TagoCore developers and and get in tune with your question and actually try to work with us to get your solution up. And so far, thank you so much, Matt, for your presentation. I would like to welcome Victor and Klaus to the stage. Victor is a software developer also, and he works with applications here at Hontago with us. And Klaus also is a software developer. He works with us on the front end team. Welcome, Klaus. Welcome, Victor. I'll be starting on your slides right now. Please feel free to start.
Yeah, nice to see you, Thiago. Such a good presentation from Matt right now. I just see the last minutes of his presentation. TagoCore is a really great new tool to work with Tago. So, Klaus, I believe you will talk a little bit about the dashboards. Can you introduce?
Sure. Can everyone hear us fine? Is it
Yep.
everything, Thiago? Yep. Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah, we're very happy to be here. For our presentation, we're going to try to keep it a little bit self-contained to some degree. I'll start by leading you through a really quick overview over some core concepts that will be necessary for this, and talking about our goals with the presentation itself. For the overview of the core concepts, if you are already familiar with TagoIO, don't worry, it will be fairly quick. If you're not familiar with TagoIO and you are looking for a deeper dive, our YouTube channel has a ton of webinars covering a wide range of topics. And earlier on stream, Thiago talked about our educational program. Be sure to keep an eye out for that, as it's very exciting. Okay, so keep going. So our main goal here is to inspire you to create and improve your applications. So you'll be sure to amaze your clients and users with great, clean visualizations for their dashboards and applications. When starting out with TagoIO, depending on your experience with the IoT ecosystem, you might connect a device with some sensors to send some data, or you might have picked one of our simulator devices and use the dashboard template to start out. Or maybe your approach to this is following our documentation and watching our webinars to figure it out by yourself, following our well-defined directions about how to do things on the TagoIO platform. So let's start with the basic scenario to introduce one of our core concepts. We have a device and we want to get some values from its sensors, such as the temperature. Using a physical device or our device emulator, we can send data to our device, and the data is organized by a few properties, one of the main ones being the variable. So in the temperature variable, we can send and retrieve data for our device's temperature measurements. Okay, so after you get the basic understanding of how devices work and how to send data to our variables, you will start creating your first dashboard and widgets to show the data from your devices. In the beginning, you might have a dashboard that looks like this, that's on screen. One widget, one variable being displayed, and this is a simple card widget showing the latest values in the temperature variable. So as you get comfortable with the core concepts, you will start to improve your dashboard by adding more widgets to display the data. If you don't have the ideas for the dashboard previously sketched out, it might start to get a bit crowded with a lot of information being displayed on screen at once, like on this second dashboard we have here. It's not necessarily bad to have a dashboard with a lot of information, but when you're making these dashboards available for your or your clients and users, it might be a good idea to consider cleaning things up a little bit and making something simpler. So the key takeaways we aim to bring here with our presentation is that designing great dashboards comes down to mainly two things. You need to organize the data being displayed in a straightforward fashion, and you need to customize your applications, keeping simplicity in mind. For both of these points, great design goes further than picking a color scheme or just using your company's branding guidelines for the colors. And it's not really about creating something flashy all the time. You need to present the information you and your customers need and direct their attention to what's important. Like on this dashboard, we have a ton of widgets and we have alerts on the middle row. And we have some temperatures right at the top and some charts, one chart at the bottom and one table. So in this dashboard in particular, the user might not need to see that the variable used in this widget with the temperature for outdoor sensors is called outdoor underlying temperature. You don't need to, but you should put the name of the measurement in the widget's title, or you should change the label for the variable, because labels are like a prettier way to display more readable names for visualization only. You don't need to rename the variables. You can keep your application structure and you just change the readable name. So depending on your application, your variables might have some names that may not be clear enough for someone that doesn't understand your application structure, like your end users, to understand it. So great design in this sense is about the iterative process. So you can talk to your customers, like Fabio mentioned earlier, and you get their feedback and you see if your application is clear enough for them to use, and then you improve, then you gather feedback again, make some adjustments, and so on. You keep this loop and you will end up reaching some great design. Color schemes in general are very important. In this chart, right at the bottom right of the dashboard, we have some predefined colors that comes from the widget itself when you create it. So you can see that the danger alert line uses some shade of blue for its color. And it's not really representative of danger. Usually, we are used to red in this sense. And the three widgets in the middle row, they are icon widgets, but they don't have icons, so they look like display widgets. And the variable names in the bottom, right, they don't mean anything to most users. So we can iterate on this design and clean it up, which leads us to this other dashboard here. So now we have the three widgets at the top. They are still showing the same information that we were showing previously, but now their names are cleaned up. I moved the name of the data that is being displayed to the widget title. And the previous widget that was on the left was showing the building name. So I chose to use an image, a logo representing the building, the company. And the variable names are hidden in the card widgets. In the middle row, our icon widgets now have icons, and they have clear names of what they are indicating, like the severity of the alerts that they're counting. And this makes it more clear to the end user that is seeing this application. So just as a side note here, colors for each icon are also configurable, so you can have the icons to change according to the value. Just a quick side note here. In the bottom row, our chart now has cleaner labels. Previously, we had the variable names, and all the colors are now configured. So the count for alerts over time is in the red color for the danger alerts, in the yellow color for the warning alerts, and the top line is the info alerts, information alerts. It's using a more neutral blue color. This also matches the colors that we picked for our icon widget, so it's consistent overall. I also changed the background color. Sorry? I also changed the background color for the. Are you talking, Victor? I'm sorry.
Yeah, do you hear me? Let me join you
Yeah, yeah.
here.
Please.
So all these options are inside the widgets, right? They can you have one widget and you can play with all the options you have. Like you can hide the variable name and move to the title as you made. You can change the colors of all your widgets. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. We have a lot of options. They're basically depend on the widget. You have some different options. We have some base options like the widget title. It's configurable for every type of widget. For some specific options like configuring the line color in the charts, yeah, we don't have in all widgets because these are specific to chart widgets. And you can use these configurations. You can configure your entire dashboards and your applications in TagoIO admin. Does that answer your question, Victor?
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So let's just wrap this dashboard up here. So for this design, we just changed the background color a little bit, and that's pretty much it. But we haven't touched the colors in the widgets. That we can configure color for each widget, like Victor asked. So you can not only configure the widgets, but you can change colors for the interface. So I'm gonna change the slide here. And I have chosen a very simple color scheme for this dashboard. So I just change some title bars, and I also make the image widgets transparent. So the image can use whatever color I like. And I change the colors for the mini charts. Another side note here, there is one further improvement that will help your users a lot, which is units. So the three values at the top, the two first ones are temperatures, so they should have a unit like Celsius or Fahrenheit. And the third one is humidity, which is usually measured in percentage. So these units are very helpful for your designing great dashboards as well. Okay, so we went from a simple dashboard with one widget to a fully customized dashboard while keeping the presented information very clean and very simple. So what's next for us here? Okay, so the next step is talking about a little bit about customizing your application in TagoRun. Let's just take a moment for a quick overview here, since I went through a lot of topics. For building and delivering customer-facing applications in TagoIO, you will most likely be using TagoRun. With TagoRun, you can build your customer's application for their users with permissions to access a different set of dashboards depending on their role and much more, like having an application available for mobile phones. By default, your run interface uses one of our color schemes, which looks a little bit like what's on screen. The blue tone on the nav bar at the top and the TagoRun logo at the bottom, at the top left corner. And the default sidebar on the left shows all of the available dashboards according to the user's permissions. However, keep in mind that you can fully customize your TagoRun application colors, your company or customer's logo, and even the sidebar itself, where it's showing the list of dashboards. You can make it have some buttons, like we have on this next slide here. So we changed the list of dashboards into some buttons on the left side of the screen. We put a company logo, which is a placeholder there. And we also changed all the colors from the sidebar to the top of the screen. Everything is customizable here. Okay, so we have covered a lot of ground here regarding some core concepts and also concepts for designing great dashboard visualizations. So do we have anything missing so far, Victor?
Yeah, I think this presentation was very good. Do you think we can do a live demonstration on how all these things works?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, so let me do this. Let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see?
Yep, it's on screen.
Yeah, so I'm here on my TagoIO account profile, and I do have a dashboard here, a very cool one that you can get when you install a simulator device. Just a quick brief on devices here. I have this freezer simulator that you can install in your profile at any time. And if I go to my bucket here, I can see all the data I have stored. So I do know I have the compressor variable, temperature, power. So this is important information when you want to create dashboards, because if you don't have this data stored in your device, it's very likely that you will not see any information in your dashboards. And let me show here quickly how to make a good dashboard, right? So one cool resource we have here on the TagoIO portal is this dashboard templates that is available for any developer. And when you enter the dashboard templates, you will see several dashboards that you can choose get to your account. Of course, they will not be configured when you first import them. So let me get this temperature humidity here, and you can press install template. And every time you install a template dashboard, it will ask you for some devices. It can be one or multiple different devices, in this case, just one. And then I'll have the dashboard in my account here. So, of course, this dashboard is made with a different sensor in mind, but we can quickly adapt this dashboard to our device. So if I move back, I know the variables I have, and I can go to my template. On the top here, you have this edit mode. It will allow you to move your widgets or edit them. So let me edit this CO2 information. And when you are editing a widget, you will see this preview of how the widget will look like. This is not data from the sensor that we are checking. It's just mockup data that will show up here that allows you to have some feeling of the widget previously of pressing the save button. So as Klaus mentioned, we have some fields that are common between all the widgets. So you always have title, probably you always have colors. You have some options, visual options, and here things start to get different between each widget. So as I will show you in a few minutes, the visual options will be very different depending on the widget you have. In this case, you have performance option because this is a shard, so we can do downsampling. We have preset time interval. If you enable this option, you will allow your customer or yourself, if this dashboard is for you, to select the date and time of the data they are seeing in their chart. And you have much more options down the line. So in this case, I just want to make sure this cool widget that I got from the template is working with my freezer device. So I do know I have a temperature variable, and I can delete the other variable, don't have to use it. So have this temperature variable. Most of the widgets will have this cool engine icon here on the top of the data. So this will give you even more options regarding this specific data that you want to pop up in your widget. So we can, for example, change the alias here. For this is basically what will be shown in the dashboard instead of the variable name. And for the chart type, we do have line chart, area chart, so we can have different kinds of charts showing up here. And the formula in units, I will wait a little bit to talk about this because I believe things start to get more complex here. Let me save just for you to see how quickly it is. So just by changing the variable I'm using for this widget and changing the alias, it already start to look like a dashboard you can use. So it's very common for you to get templates and have this no data available because the variable is wrong. So for example, I can get a different variable here like the door status, and I can change the title to door status. This is a solid chart, so will not look good for this kind of information. Let me move to a different one real quickly. Maybe this one. Yeah, this one is better. So I can put my door status here, and I can change the variable name. And in this case, this is an icon widget. When I click on the engine tool here, I will have more and different options. So I have my alias. I can change this to door status. I believe the alias is disabled. I will show you how this works a little bit. But I believe the most important option here for the icons is to set up which icons you want to show in different conditions. Like if I have a value of true, I can change the icon here for something else. So for example, I open lock, I can press save, and we start to see something. So as I am using a template, I have this percentage that was put in the widget when I first installed them. And the true is also in lowercase. So let's fix this real quickly. So I can go back here, into under formula in unit, you can see we are using a fixed unit. So we can just move back to a unit from the variable. And here we can put in lowercase so we can have the icon working, and press save. And now we have the icon working. So this is basically how you work when you get a dashboard template. It's a very good place to start when you don't want to explore all the options we have. But for example, talking about colors, I have here a blue, a dark blue dashboard, and here a very dark dashboard. So what happens when I want to have the same color in all my dashboards? Is that quickly? Let me show you how we can do that. So first thing is that we can copy the color from a different widget or apply our color settings. But let me show you how you set up colors first. So when you edit your widget, you have this color section here where you can set up the header. You have option for transparency and sorry. So different widgets will have different options for colors here, so keep that in mind. But the basic header, background, text color is something that all the widgets will have, and you can export them, and will work just fine. So I just put a very random color here. The goal is not to make this beauty, it's just to show the functionality. So once you have all these colors here, we can just apply the color to all widgets, and then we can press apply. So very quickly to do, in a few seconds, you already have all your widgets in the new color format, and you can even export these to a different widget, a different dashboard. So if I go to this cool dashboard here, I can edit. I can click directly here to copy the color settings of a different widget. I believe I need to go, I believe I want to show you from this screen. So if you are from here creating a new widget, you also have the option to copy from a different widget. Not sure if it will work right easily here. So first you select your dashboard. So I want to copy from the temperature, humidity dashboard, and then I can select any of the widgets because all of them has the same template, right? Then I can press copy, and then I have my new color format, and then I can apply to all widgets of this dashboard. So this is the basic about coloring dashboards. Want to show quickly here how you create a new dashboard. So this option is this plus icon here. So if you want to start from zero creating your own dashboard, uh, you can just enter a name here like test, and you have this normal and the blueprint. The normal is the easier one. You create a dashboard for a single device. The blueprint is more for scaling up your application. For sure, you want to understand how the blueprint works because it just expands a lot what you can and cannot do in an application. And it's just very important when you start to have customers and you don't want to have multiple versions of your dashboard. You just have one, and this one dashboard work with different devices. And later on the Tago run, you do have access where you can say these users will have access to these devices. So I do recommend learning the blueprint as soon as you can. But let's start with the normal. I believe is the place where most of you will be starting. So here we have a dashboard that has no widget, no information. We can press to add a new widget. And we do have a lot of widgets here. And if you do not want to use some of these widgets, you can go to custom widget. So you can write your own HTML and JavaScript code and have your own widget in the platform. Very quickly to do, have a lot of documentations, and we are working on more examples of custom widgets so everyone has a great starting point. So let me get a map here. So this is one of the most complex widgets we have in the platform. If you only have one device, I believe the variable I have here is location. Of course, it's very quickly. Just by doing what I did here and created the widget, we already plot your device on the map. Also, of course, if you have the location with the correct parameters. But this starts to get more complex when you want to show a lot of devices, and if you want to scale up, like when you add the new device, it automatically show up on the map. Of course, this starts to get more complex, and we do have tutorials on that, by the way. So starting a new widget, I will just copy the color as I've done before. And coloring widgets is cool. You can have different effects on your dashboard, but dashboards also have their own color settings. So let me edit this dashboard here. So once we are here, of course, you have the name, but you also have dashboard icon. That is the icon that will show up on the, let me put a truck here. That will show up here on the top and in your sidebar. You also show up in your Tago run. You can set up a background color or a image. You can have tabs as well. So I can have tab 1 and tab 2. And when using tabs, you also have this option called hidden tab. So this tab will only show up for you in your developer account, will not show up for your customers in the TagoRun. And you can also have a link here where they link to a different dashboard or a different URL, external platform or something. Let me keep this as hidden tab. And you can customize the background color of the tabs. So for example, I can have these settings here very quickly to do, and I can press save. So we are already changing the look of this dashboard just by changing colors. If you have the time to get images, etc., I believe you can have even better results. So let me show you how this looks on the TagoRun. So first thing, I have my TagoRun enabled and configured on my account here. Under the theme options is where you will be doing most of your color settings, changing the background of the sign up page. You can also customize your sidebar, like changing the background color, the navigation bar. So as a lot of customizations you have here when you are working the TagoRun in order to distribute for your customers or just create your application. If I click on my link here, I will start to open my TagoRun, and I have this cool sign-in page. Let me show log in here very quickly. And this is how the dashboard start to look for the TagoRun. So for and this I think is very important and cool to show you this because the admin.tagoio is for developers. So this is not expected to look in the way you want. It's just for you to work on the platform, it's for you to create your dashboards, create your application. But the TagoRun is where our team worked to get the results for you to deliver for your customer, for you to have your own brand and have your colors, your templates, and show in the most optimized and beautiful way for your application. So I have my dashboards here. So this works greatly by using the access rules. So I'm just taking the time I have here. If you go now to your account and enable your tag run and you then create a user, you will notice that when you log into your user, you don't have all the access for the dashboard. So it's very common to all the dashboards not show up here. And the reason would be because you don't have this access rule created. We call it actually as a policy. And as I have here, I just selected that all my run users will have access to all the dashboards. And this is why this user can see all the dashboards. Okay, I believe regarding live demonstrations, all we have here. So Klaus, there is anything you want to add to this presentation?
You covered pretty much everything that I only went over, right? I would talk a little bit about an overview for you guys, and Vitor complemented with some live demonstration. I think we're open for questions.
Okay, let's go to the questions. Tiago, can you help us?
Absolutely, Victor. Absolutely. Thanks for the great presentation, by the way. One question that I have here is, can you also customize outgoing emails and SMS notifications and push notifications that goes out of the platform?
Yeah, you can, but usually these notifications are sent by actions or analysis. So by default, you already have some kind of customization, right? But since we are talking about notifications, etc., one cool feature we have for TagoRun is the email templates. So you can change these templates. By default, you already have the welcome, password recovery, and two-factor authentication. So these templates is something that you can customize, and if you are not using English as your default language, very good to change this to a different one. So by going here, you can change your welcome email, but this is only if you have sign up enabled in your TagoRun. But password recovery is something that most users can use at some point. So you want to uh, change this template, and two-factor authentication is also something that you can enable for your TagoRun users. So if you did customize this to have the best looking for your application. Other than that, we also have the multi-language. So this is something you can customize for your application. Not only on the notifications, because you do have notifications that go through this multi-language feature, but also the entire language of the platform. So if I go to my dictionary in multi-language, here I have this run dictionary created, and all these key and value pairs covers everything the user can see in their application. I mean, you have this enter full screen mode that is right here. You have the option to export to CSV or Excel file. You have other words like search that show up here. And even when you are logging in, you have other option like forgot your password. You have this quick text and or go back to sign in. So a lot of words in the application. I believe everyone got the point. So in your dictionary, you can customize all these words. You can have different language support depending on which language you want to have available for your application.
That's amazing, Peter. Thanks for clarifying that. I also think that it's good to mention in regards to the custom domain and white label, where you can actually have the entire application branded for the customer solution, right? For what he's putting together there, and also the custom mobile app, right? So. If you want to share a little bit about how Toggle Run looks versus a fully customized mobile app, which pretty much allows you to have your own deployable app, and then you can add your logo and the name of the company inside App Store and Google Play, right?
Yeah, so from here we can already see how it looks on the app. We also have the TagoRun app. Let me quickly uh, find it here. So we have for the Google Play and the App Store. You can download it on your mobile phone, and it will only ask you to enter the URL of your TagoRun, which is this one. By the way, you can customize the domain at any time, and you can uh, actually change the entire domain if you get the add-on on your payment page. So, but one quick way to show you how it looks like is actually to use get the browser small, so it basically start to look like you will see in the mobile phone. But of course, the mobile phone looks much better in several ways because there is the way you interact with your fingers, etc. But it's one way if you don't want to get the app. But I do highly recommend to get and check how it looks on the mobile phone. It can be something that you want to use for your application.
That's amazing. That's pretty cool. Thank you so much, Vitor and Klaus, for this great presentation and giving us a few tips and features on how to get people engaged to customizing their applications, making it look fierce, and of course, uh, to the many customers that they have out there. So now I would like to invite every one of you to track one. We're going to be finalizing the use case for today, track two. And I would like to thank everybody that joined this presentation today and took a little bit time aside to join us. I would like to thank Jose, Mateus, Vitor, and Klaus that were together with us and shared this great knowledge and insight. And this amazing audience, I was so happy to see some known faces over there join us, and hope to see you again soon. For now, thank you everyone. Have a great week ahead.